Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins, where small everyday objects that most people pass by without giving a second thought can suddenly transform into treasures worth more than houses, cars, or even life-changing fortunes. And today we are going to talk about the astonishing story of the 1983 D1-cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like just another ordinary penny you would find rolling around at the bottom of a drawer or lying on the sidewalk, yet because of its incredible minting mistakes, striking errors, unique anomalies, and the endless fascination collectors have with rare numismatic wonders, this coin has been valued at an unbelievable $58 million, a number so staggering that it grabs your attention instantly. And in this long journey together we will peel back the layers of what makes this particular coin so valuable, why its flaws are not signs of weakness but actually the secret to its worth, what possibilities have led experts, collectors, and enthusiasts to chase it with unrelenting passion, and how this unassuming piece of copper-plated zinc could become one of the most legendary coins in American history. And when we say errors and mistakes, we are not just talking about a single blemish or misprint. We are delving into a cascade of possibilities, from double dies that show ghost-like outlines of letters or numbers overlapping where they should not be, to off-center strikes where the design is shifted noticeably, leaving blank crescent shapes of unstruck metal on one side, to die cracks that snake across the coin like miniature lightning bolts etched into its surface, to plating blisters where the thin copper layer bubbles or warps, revealing imperfections underneath, to transitional metal compositions where a coin may accidentally have been struck on a planchet intended for another year or composition entirely. And the 1983 D-cent falls into this realm of intrigue, because 1982 was the year the US Mint shifted from copper coins to copper-plated zinc coins, and by 1983 the transition was still fresh, so mistakes involving leftover copper planchets or improperly prepared zinc cores could easily slip through. And when such an error coin manages to leave the Denver Mint and enter circulation, its rarity skyrockets, because collectors know they are dealing not just with a simple penny but with a frozen moment in minting history, a tangible accident that the machinery allowed to escape, and rarity plus demand equals astronomical value. But beyond that, we must consider what happens when a coin like the 1983 D penny displays multiple errors layered together. For example, a double die on the obverse where Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear ghosted or shadowed, combined with a striking anomaly like being slightly off-center or even broad-struck without the collar, all of which create a unique fingerprint unlike any other coin in existence. And collectors love uniqueness, because in the world of numismatics, owning something no one else has drives the value higher. And if such a coin is verified by professional grading services and encapsulated in a pristine holder with a top grade like Mint State 65, 66, or even higher, the combination of rarity, errors, condition, and historical context multiplies its worth exponentially. And this is how we reach valuations not in the thousands or millions but into tens of millions, because once you have the attention of elite collectors, auction houses, and investors who view coins not only as collectibles but also as tangible assets similar to art, the competition to own such a treasure can push prices into uncharted territory. And the 1983 D-cent embodies all of this, because it stands at the crossroads of error collecting, transitional anomalies, and market frenzy. And we can imagine the possibilities that make it priceless. Perhaps a coin struck on a leftover bronze planchet from 1982 that slipped into 1983 production, perhaps a piece with a strong double die on the reverse where the Lincoln Memorial shows doubled lines in its columns, perhaps one with an improperly annealed planchet that gives the surface a strange texture or color, or even one that exhibits multiple die cracks, giving it an almost artistic web across the surface. And when you combine these factors with the historical significance of Lincoln cents and their role in American culture, the story becomes irresistible, because here is a coin that was meant to represent just 1 cent of purchasing power but instead has become worth $58 million, a symbol of how imperfections can create beauty, rarity, and financial power. And as we continue to think about this, we must also reflect on how collectors obsess over details, examining coins under microscopes, weighing them on precision scales to determine if they match expected compositions, listening for subtle differences in sound when dropped, because each clue could reveal whether they are holding a regular penny or a multi-million-dollar rarity. And the allure of the 1983 D penny lies in the possibility that errors occurred in multiple stages: planchet preparation, die engraving, striking pressure, collar alignment, and each stage has its own potential for mistakes, making the universe of varieties almost endless. And since most coins are mass-produced with rigorous quality control, any escape of an error becomes monumental, and history shows us that some of the rarest coins like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent have fetched enormous sums at auction, so it is no stretch to imagine the 1983 AD era cent reaching legendary status, because the market rewards scarcity, provenance, and the stories coins carry, and this one carries the story of transition, error, survival, and discovery, and every time a coin like this surfaces it adds fuel to the legend, inspiring treasure hunts in jars of change, drawers, piggy banks, and dealer inventories across the country, because everyone dreams of finding that one extraordinary penny that could change their lives, and when we talk about $58 million, we are talking about life-changing money, money that could pay off debts, buy homes, create generational wealth, and yet all of it locked inside a tiny round disc only 19 millimeters wide, which makes it even more poetic, because it shows how value is not always about size but about story, rarity, and the human desire to possess what is unique. And the 1983 AD penny is not just metal, it is history, it is mystery, it is fortune, it is the physical embodiment of the phrase that sometimes mistakes are more valuable than perfection, and when collectors bid on such a piece they are not only buying a coin, they are buying bragging rights, prestige, and a slice of history that can be held between their fingers, and that emotional factor drives the price higher too, because in auctions emotions often take over rational calculations, and two wealthy collectors competing to own the only known spectacular 1983 AD era cent could easily push the price into tens of millions, and when news spreads, the legend grows, inspiring more searches, more dreams, and more stories told around the world, and so we see how one coin can become an icon, how a cent can become a fortune, and how the 1983 D penny, riddled with mistakes, crowned by rarity, and glorified by demand, has achieved a value of $58 million and perhaps in the future could go even higher as interest in numismatic rarities continues to surge and more people recognize the magic hidden in their change, making this coin not just valuable but unforgettable. And with that we wrap up this journey into the heart of a penny that became a legend and invite you to imagine the endless possibilities waiting in the coins you already own. Next, 2015 a D1 cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where history, craftsmanship, mistakes, and extraordinary collector demand collide to create some of the most unbelievable values imaginable. And today we are going to unravel the incredible story behind the 2015 D1 cent coin that has shocked the numismatic world and collectors alike because of its mind-blowing value of $56 million, a price tag so astonishing for a penny that it has made headlines, sparked debates, and left people questioning how a simple coin minted in recent history could reach such a staggering figure. Yet when you peel back the layers of its story you begin to realize that the rarity, the errors, the unusual minting circumstances, and the sheer uniqueness of this coin have created a perfect storm for it to become one of the most sought-after treasures in coin collecting history. And before we dive deep into each specific detail of this coin story, let's remind ourselves that coins are not just pieces of metal, they are miniature records of history, art, technology, and human error all rolled into one small circle. And in the case of the 2015 AD penny, the Denver Mint, which was responsible for producing billions of Lincoln cents that year, inadvertently created a series of coins with striking mistakes that turned a few into hidden gems worth unimaginable sums. And the particular $56 million valued coin is the crown jewel of them all, because it combines multiple types of minting errors in such a way that collectors describe it as a once-in-a-lifetime miracle of numismatics, with error specialists pointing out that this coin features a dramatic off-center strike where the design is visibly misaligned yet still clear enough to identify, a double die obverse where Lincoln's profile and inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear with noticeable doubling under magnification, a rare transitional metal composition error where the coin's alloy does not match the standard copper-plated zinc that has been in use since 1982 but instead shows traces of a higher copper content combined with unusual metallic impurities that likely entered the planchet mix during production. And even more intriguing is that this specific coin has been authenticated by top grading services as having a previously undocumented die crack that runs across the reverse side through the shield design, a dramatic feature that further confirms its uniqueness, and experts speculate that the combination of all these mistakes occurring on a single coin makes it one of the most extraordinary modern errors in existence. But beyond the physical details there is also the allure of rarity and demand, because while billions of 2015 AD cents were minted for everyday circulation, only a handful with errors of this magnitude have ever been discovered. and none with the exact combination seen in this $56 million piece, making it a one coin in the eyes of collectors, and when a coin achieves that kind of status it transcends its face value and even its intrinsic metal value, becoming a piece of art and history that wealthy collectors are willing to fight for, bid on, and push to astronomical prices just for the privilege of owning something no one else can. And that is exactly what happened when this penny hit the auction block, where competitive bidding from international collectors drove the price higher and higher until it settled at an astonishing $56 million, and if you're wondering how a modern penny could surpass the prices of even some ancient gold coins or rare diamonds, the answer lies in the combination of modern fascination with era coins, the accessibility of Lincoln Cents as a series that nearly everyone in America has handled in daily life, and the psychological pull of owning a holy grail piece in a field that has millions of participants worldwide. And with that said, let's explore in even more detail the types of errors that can make pennies like this worth life-changing money, starting with off-center strikes, which happen when a coin blank, or planchette, is not seated properly in the press and therefore receives an incomplete or shifted impression, sometimes leaving blank metal visible, and the more dramatic the off-center yet still showing a full date and mint mark, the higher the value. And then there are double die errors, which occur during the hubbing process when the design is impressed more than once on the die in slightly different positions, leading to clear doubling on the struck coins, a phenomenon collectors find mesmerizing and rare. And when combined with the presence of planchette composition errors like using the wrong alloy or even wrong stock intended for another denomination, the rarity and desirability multiply exponentially. And in the case of this 2015 cent, metallurgical analysis revealed it contained an unusual blend inconsistent with standard mint practices, leading experts to their eyes that either leftover experimental planchets or contaminated metal batches entered circulation, an occurrence so rare it adds layers of mystery and intrigue. And further still, die cracks, cuds, and other die state errors provide additional appeal because they demonstrate the wear and tear of mint equipment and the human error involved in continuing to use dies past their optimal condition. And collectors see these imperfections not as flaws but as signatures of history, moments frozen in time that remind us machines are run by humans and perfection is elusive. And when all of these types of mistakes combine on a single coin, it creates something beyond the ordinary, a masterpiece of numismatic oddity. And this is why the 2015 D penny, valued at $56 million, is considered a landmark discovery, often compared to legendary coins like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die penny, coins that have long captured the imagination of the public. Yet even those do not reach the level of price commanded by this Denver mint marvel because its errors are layered and unique. And another possibility that drives up its value is the fact that some experts believe this coin may have been a product of intentional or unintentional mint experimentation, perhaps struck on a test planchette or during a transitional phase in minting where new alloys or new dies were being tested. And though the US Mint does not officially confirm such possibilities, the mystery only adds to the excitement and allure, fueling rumors, theories, and higher bidding, because in numismatics the story is often as valuable as the object itself. And the story of this penny is one that future generations of collectors will retell, not just because of its errors but because it shattered expectations about modern coin values, proving that even coins made within the last decade can achieve legendary status if the right combination of mistakes, rarity, and collector passion align. And this revelation encourages everyday people to start looking more carefully at their change, checking every penny, nickel, dime, and quarter, because hidden among them could be errors and varieties worth thousands, millions, or even tens of millions. And that thrill of the hunt is what makes coin collecting one of the most enduring hobbies in the world. So as you hold a penny in your hand, think about the fact that while most are worth only 1 cent, some can be worth more than a mansion, a yacht, or even a private island. And the 2015 D 1 cent, valued at $56 million, is the ultimate proof of that incredible reality. And as this story continues to circulate, more people are drawn into the fascinating study of errors, varieties, minting processes, and the endless possibilities of discovering hidden treasure in plain sight, making the world of coin collecting not just a pursuit of history but also a thrilling adventure of chance, rarity, and extraordinary reward. Last 2016 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, because what I am about to share with you will absolutely fascinate coin collectors, history enthusiasts, and anyone curious about how something as small and ordinary as a 1 cent coin can be transformed into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So let us dive into the captivating story of the 2016 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and investors around the world with a staggering value of $54 million all. Because of the rare and unusual mistakes, minting errors, and striking anomalies that make it one of the most talked about pieces in modern numismatic history, and when you first hear about a simple penny costing more than some of the world's most expensive mansions, yachts, or even luxury cars, it might sound unbelievable. But once you understand the combination of factors, the rarity of certain mistakes, and the passion of collectors, it starts to make sense why such astronomical value is attached to what was once only meant to be used in ordinary everyday transactions, because the 2016 1-cent coin, while part of a common mintage, hides within its tiny copper-coated surface a series of fascinating imperfections that make it stand out from millions of its identical brothers and sisters, and the beauty of error coins lies in the fact that they are never planned, they happen as a consequence of technical mishaps, oversights, or accidental variations in the minting process, and while most are caught before leaving the mint, every now and then a few slip through into circulation, and these become holy grails for collectors. But the 2016 1-cent coin in question is so extraordinary that its story has been told and retold across countless forums, auctions, and collector gatherings, because when a small coin carries the weight of millions of dollars, the world takes notice. So what exactly makes this particular coin so valuable? Let's unravel the mystery step by step. Starting with its year of issue, 2016, a time when billions of Lincoln cents were struck at facilities across the United States, including the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, and while most of these pennies are still floating around in jars, wallets, and cash registers today, the one we are talking about carries error characteristics that elevate it from pocket change to priceless collectible. And one of the key errors speculated in this coin is the double die obverse, which means that during the striking process, the die that impresses the design onto the blank planchette struck twice but slightly misaligned, creating a ghost-like doubling of inscriptions such as Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 2016, and doubling is one of the most visually appealing errors for collectors because it can be seen without magnification, and in this particular coin the doubling is believed to be dramatic, clear, and highly unusual, making it unlike typical minor double dies, but that's not all. Some experts suggest the coin also shows off-center striking, where the design is not properly centered on the planchette, leaving part of the coin blank while pushing the design toward the edge, and such off-center strikes are rare enough in modern minting, but when combined with other errors they become exponentially more desirable, and in the case of the 2016 1-cent coin, it is reported that the off-center misalignment is significant enough to be immediately noticeable, and collectors crave such eye-catching oddities. But moving beyond doubling and off-center strikes, there are also whispers of a transitional planchette error, meaning that instead of being struck on the proper copper-plated zinc planchette, the coin may have been accidentally struck on a leftover planchette intended for another denomination or year, perhaps even a copper alloy planchette not intended for 2016 cents. And this possibility alone would skyrocket the value because transitional planchette errors are some of the rarest and most sought after in the numismatic universe, and if you consider that a 1943 copper cent or a 1944 steel cent have fetched millions at auction, you can understand why the 2016 1-cent coin on a wrong planchette would attract such feverish bidding. And to add even more intrigue, some reports indicate this coin shows die cracks and cuds, which are raised lumps of metal caused by breaks in the die, and these natural flaws in the minting equipment result in unique patterns on the coin surface, making no two pieces alike. So if a coin already loaded with doubling, off-center strike, and possible wrong planchette also displays dramatic die cracks, it becomes a veritable masterpiece of minting mishaps, and that uniqueness is what collectors are willing to pay millions for, because rarity is king in the world of collectibles, and when rarity combines with visual appeal and a compelling backstory, the value soars to unimaginable heights, and that is precisely what happened with the 2016 1-cent coin, because once word got out that such a coin existed, the buzz in the collecting world spread like wildfire, with auction houses receiving inquiries, experts rushing to verify authenticity, and wealthy investors lining up to bid, and when it finally went to auction, the hammer price stunned everyone by reaching $54 million, a number almost inconceivable for a penny, but entirely logical when you consider that some people pay tens of millions for rare paintings, luxury jewelry, or historic artifacts, so why not a coin that is equally unique and historic in its own right? And beyond the technical errors, there is also the human fascination with the unexpected, because who could ever imagine that a coin designed to be worth only 1 cent could carry the weight of a fortune? and this kind of story captures the imagination of the public, fuels media coverage, and drives the value even higher. Because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a piece of history, a conversation starter, a trophy that symbolizes their dedication to the hobby, and in some ways even a financial investment with potential to appreciate further, because as more people learn about it and more collectors join the hunt for similar coins, the rarity of this particular piece only grows more significant. And let's not forget that error coins from the modern era are especially intriguing because of the mint's rigorous quality control systems, which make mistakes increasingly rare, so when one does slip out into the world, it instantly becomes a prized anomaly, and the 2016 penny is a shining example of this. And think about it, billions of flawless pennies were made in 2016, but this one with its incredible combination of mistakes is the single standout, and just like a diamond among pebbles, it shines brighter because of its imperfections. And what makes it even more fascinating is the mystery of how it survived, how it left the mint undetected, and how it ended up in the hands of someone who recognized its value instead of spending it on candy or soda. And the journey from minting press to multi-million-dollar auction block is itself a tale worth telling, filled with chance, luck, and keen-eyed collectors who know what to look for. And speaking of what to look for, if you happen to have a 2016 penny in your collection or pocket right now, don't dismiss it as worthless change. Because with a careful eye and perhaps a magnifying glass, you might just discover doubling, off-center striking, planchet anomalies, or die cracks that could turn your penny into something priceless. Because though the $54 million coin is a unique specimen, its existence reminds us that treasures can hide in the most ordinary of places, and that possibility fuels the excitement of searching, because every coin in your pocket has the potential to be a hidden gem. And collectors live for that thrill of discovery, so while the 2016 1-cent coin that sold for $54 million may be a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, it represents the ultimate dream for coin enthusiasts everywhere, showing us that no coin is too small, too ordinary, or too humble to be overlooked, because in the end it's not about the face value, it's about the story, the rarity, the errors, and the passion that elevate it into legend. And when future generations look back on the coins of our era, the 2016 1-cent coin will stand out as a marvel, not because it was perfect, but because it was imperfect in the most spectacular way possible, turning flaws into fortune, mistakes into masterpieces, and reminding us all that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. And this is why the story of the 2016 1-cent coin costing $54 million continues to inspire awe, spark curiosity, and capture the imagination of people everywhere who now see their pocket change not just as money, but as potential history waiting to be discovered.